Hi guys, so I'm back with another tutorial. This is my sleeveless crop top. I posted a picture on my Instagram and had a bunch of people requesting a tutorial, so here it is. This is the type of yarn that I'm using, and I do realize in my previous videos I forget to mention my yarn weight and all of that information, so here's a close-up of the packaging. And for this tutorial I did use 2 full rolls of this yarn, and each roll is 350 yards, so just keep that in mind if you're making a larger size. So I'm using my 2.75mm hook, and to get started, the easiest way to do this is to just unravel 2 rolls at the same time and then just tie them together, and this way it adds a little bit more thickness but still keeps the lightweight texture. Unfortunately, I didn't buy more than one at the same time because I didn't know what I was going to make with this, so all I did was unravel a bunch of it and then just loop it together to create my chain from that. But I do recommend to just buy 2 and then start your chain the first way. So first, all you're going to do is get your yarn and you're going to begin chaining. This is going to be a chain that will fit around your entire midsection. So it really depends how wide you need your crop top to be. The size that I'm making in this tutorial is an extra small, and I kind of did that on accident, so keep in mind it does shrink up a little bit when you are crocheting. I believe I used about 170 chains. And then all you're going to do once you have your chains that fit around your midsection or waist, wherever you want your crop top to end, is you're going to take the 2 ends and connect them with a slip stitch. So another important thing to make sure you're doing is when you're connecting this, just try and make sure it's not twisted. It doesn't really matter if it is twisted a little bit, it just makes it harder to create your first row, but other than that it should be okay. But all you're going to do is connect it with a slip stitch, and then you're going to get started on your first row. To begin your first row, chain 3, prepare for a double crochet, go right into the very next loop in the row, place your first double crochet there, prepare for a second double crochet, go into the next chain, place your double crochet. So you will have a total of 3 because your chain 3 at the beginning counts as 1. Then you're going to chain 1, prepare for a double crochet, skip the next loop, and then go into the loop after it and place your double crochet. Then again, prepare for a double crochet, place it in the very next loop. And again, one more double crochet, place it in the next loop. So you can kind of see the pattern I'm doing. This is going to be the pattern for the whole entire body piece. You're going to have 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets, and you're going to repeat that over and over and over again. So you're going to do that pattern for the remainder of this row. I'll just leave in a few extra clips just in case you need to watch it. I am going to kind of go over the terminology pretty quickly. This isn't really a tutorial for absolute beginners, but I do have a beginner's tutorial if you need to go and look at that to kind of get these basic moves down. And again, it's okay if it's a little bit twisted. The way that I found was easiest for me to kind of make sure it wasn't twisted was as I was crocheting, I was laying it down on the table and making sure that it was as straight as it could be. But so you're just going to go along until you reach the very end. So then this is where you're going to just slip stitch it to the beginning of the row. I'm just placing it at the very top of the first chain 3 that I made, and I am placing a slip stitch. So then to begin on your second row, again I am chaining 3, and then continuing that same pattern. You're going to place your double crochet right in the top of the double crochet that's beneath it. And again, make sure you have 3 double crochets all together. So really you're just following the row beneath, making sure you have 3 double crochets. After the third, chain 1, prepare for your next set of 3 double crochets. So then just continue that pattern for the rest of the second row, and you're going to connect it with a slip stitch at the end, and just continue this. Honestly, this tutorial does take a while. It is a larger project, and you will notice that my nails change in this tutorial. Like, it did take me like the course of a week to finish, so just keep that in mind. Definitely it takes a little bit longer, but it was still a really fun project to do. So then, like I said, you connect each end of the row together with a slip stitch. So again, I am going to chain 3 for the next row, and I think I go about 14 rows. Yeah, 14 rows that I do, and this is all going to fit right underneath your bust line. So if you want to have a little bit more coverage in your midsection, feel free to continue this for as long as you need. And then once you reach the point where you want to start crocheting up into the top part of the crop top, then all you're going to do is begin your row as usual. You're going to chain out 3, and then continue all the way to the other side, and then stop when you reach halfway. So I hope that makes sense. Instead of continuing it all the way around, I'm just continuing it back and forth through one half of the shirt. And this is making room for your armholes to go, so you don't have to cut and tie it. And I believe this is where I ran out of the first roll of yarn, so I did pick up another roll and crocheted the same exact way of unrolling a bunch of yarn and then attaching it. I don't recommend doing this. You should definitely just get 2 rolls at the same time and unroll them together. But I'm just showing you, just in case you only do 1 roll at a time, that's how I connect it, but I don't recommend doing that. So anyway, I continue that first half of the top for about 12 rows. Again, I'm doing an extra small. I do recommend to measure it against yourself to get the right dimensions. Then I'm going to start on the small little shoulder piece. So all you're going to do is 5 groups of 3. So if you count out there, it's just going to be 5 of the 3. My very first group of 3 double crochets is only 2, as you can see there, which is totally fine. You're just going to go out 5 little groups, and you're going to be placing your usual pattern. And I'll go ahead and show you just in case. I know my explanation is probably really bad, but this is all you're doing is the same pattern. You're going to chain 3 and then place your double crochet in the double crochet beneath it, and that counts as 1, even though it's 2, but it counts as 1. So then you chain over to your next, place your 3 double crochets through this, and then you're going to stop once you reach the 5th group of 3, and then you're going to go and do a second row of that. So I really hope that makes sense. It's pretty self-explanatory though. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead, cut my yarn, and then reattach it along where you left off from the back side. And I'm going to do the same exact thing, just doing all of my rows all the way up, not attaching it through the armpit, and doing the little shoulder parts. And then all I'm doing is connecting these little shoulder pieces together. So to do that, just flip it inside out. I'm just placing a single crochet in every chain going along the little shoulder part. So then once you're finished connecting the shoulder parts together, you are completely finished with the body portion of your crop top. I'm gonna go on to do the design at the bottom, but if you wanted just a plain crop top, then there you go. You can stop here if you want. So to get started on the row, I'm just following the line of the armpit and going down to the very stitch that's on the side of the crop top, and then I'm just attaching my hook there. And then from here, just chain 3. I am going to do just a basic row of the same pattern that we had been doing the entire time, just because the very bottom row of your crop top is going to be really nasty and loose and it's not going to look cute. So I'm just going to go through the entire row and continue the same pattern of placing 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets. So once you're finished, you are going to slip stitch your sides together, and I am going to try my best to explain this. My camera did stop working. You see, I'm pulling apart the thread right there in between the very first space. All I'm doing is slip stitching my way over to the very first space after the 3 double crochets. So once I'm in that space, I am going to be placing 2 double crochets, chain 2 at the top of that, and then 2 more double crochets. As you can see in that little loop that I'm slow motioning through, I'm so sorry, I have no idea, but pretend this is the very beginning of the row. So again, just how I said, you're going to be placing 2 double crochets. Well, of course, you're going to chain 3 and that's going to count as 1, but for the remainder, 2 double crochets. Then you're going to chain 2 right here at the top, and then place 2 more double crochets in that same loop. And then after you do this, you're going to be chaining 3 and then skipping to the second space. So not the very next space after the 3, but the very space after that. So here again, I'm going to show you, you chain 3, you skip the first space after 3, and then go to the second space after 3. So I really hope that makes sense. I'm so sorry, I have no idea, my camera just died. But this is all you're going to do for the second row. And it should look something like this. So then once you have that, you're going to again slip stitch over to the very first space. So I'm just putting it through the random top until I reach the middle part. So it's kind of like a baby shell in between the 2 double crochets of the very first space. I'm going to be placing a total of 7 double crochets. Your chain 3 does count as 1 for this very first one. I don't know how else to describe it. So you're going to have a total of 7 double crochets in the center of the little baby shell that you created beneath it. So then once you have that, you're going to be chaining 3, skipping over to the next little baby shell. In the center, you're going to be placing 2 double crochets, you're going to chain 2 at the top of the second double crochet, and then go back in with 2 double crochets. And then once you have that, you are going to chain 3, go across to your next small shell space, and you're going to be placing 7 double crochets in this space beneath it. And then you're going to continue that same pattern over and over again for the remainder of this row. So once you are finished with that, you're going to chain 3 to start your row, and then you're going to be placing a double crochet in the very next loop in the little fan that you created. Chain 1, go in with your second double crochet in the very next chain. So you're placing a double crochet in every loop, and you're chaining 1 at the top of every double crochet. And there's 1 more. And then once you have that, you are going to chain 3 to go across. You're going to be again placing the same small little shell pattern, 2 double crochets in the shell beneath it, chaining 2 at the top of the second double crochet, and then going right back in again and placing 2 more double crochets. So once you have that, chain 3, prepare for a double crochet. Then you're going to be going right into the very first top of the double crochet beneath it and placing a double crochet. And then you're going to chain 1 at the top of this. So you just continue that same pattern just across the little fan, and then keep doing that over and over again for the remainder of the row. So once you reach the end, I just slip stitched it together, and then I am putting my hook through the very first loop of the fan and placing another slip stitch, and then from here I'm going to chain 3, and then I'm going to attach it into the middle of the second loop with a slip stitch. You could do a slip stitch or you can do a single crochet, whatever's easier for you. It honestly doesn't matter. But go ahead and chain another 3, attach it to the next loop with a slip stitch or single crochet, chain another 3, and then just finish this for the little fan pattern that you do. Just make sure that you're placing a chain 3 and attaching it in every loop. And then just chain 3, and you're going to be placing another mini shell. In the shell beneath it, 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. So then once you have that, you're going to chain 3 across and then repeat the same pattern. So here I'm finished with my row, and I just slip stitched it together, and then now I'm going to start on my next row. I'm placing my hook through the tiny little chain 3 loop we created at the very beginning with a slip stitch, and then I'm chaining 3, going through the very next loop next to it, connecting it with a single crochet or a slip stitch, doesn't matter, chain 3, connect it to the next loop. I think I'm doing single crochets in this row. Chain 3, go to the next one until you are out of loops to do. So now I'm chaining 3 to go across. Again, you are going to be placing the same mini shell pattern in the shell beneath it. 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. You're going to repeat this pattern for the remainder of this row. So now I'm on the next row. I connected it with a slip stitch. I'm going to chain 3 to begin my next row. Again, you're going to be connecting into these small little fan loops with a chain 3, connecting it with a single crochet. So your fan should be getting smaller and smaller because you are decreasing the loops every row you go. So then you are going to chain 3 across. You are going to place 2 double crochets in the small fan beneath it and chain 1 at the top. You're not doing the regular mini shell pattern in this row. So you're going to be placing 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets to finish this. And I'm so sorry my camera died again. But that's all that you're going to crochet through this loop. And as you can see, there are 2 spaces in this shell. So you just continue that for the rest of the row. I'm so sorry I skipped ahead again. I am chaining 3 to begin the next row, and I'm continuing the same chain 3 loopy pattern that we have been doing in the little fans. And that's all you're doing. I really hope that it makes sense. I am so bad at doing voiceovers. But if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. So now you're reaching the 2 shelled pattern in the row beneath. So all you're going to do is place another little shell in the very first space of the shell beneath it. So that's 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets. So again, my camera cut out, but you're just going to chain 2 and then place another little shell in the space beneath it. So now you continue that, and I'm on my next row. You're going to slip stitch through the very first loop to get started, chain 3, attach to the next loop with a single crochet, repeat that. This is getting really repetitive. You're doing the same thing over and over again until you have less and less loops to go. then once you're across, you're going to chain 3, and then now in the very first mini shell, you are going to be placing 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. Now you are going to chain 3. Then you're going to prepare for a double crochet and place it right in the middle of those shells in that space. 1 double crochet, then chain 2 at the top of that, and then go right back in that same middle loop and place 1 more double crochet. So now you're going to chain 3 again, and then place another shell in the loop next to it. So that's 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. Then you're going to repeat the same process till the end of the row. So I'm just connecting the end of my row with a slip stitch, and then I'm going to chain 3, prepare for a double crochet, go into the very first shell. You're going to be placing another shell in this very first shell of the series of shells that we made in this space. So now all I'm going to do is chain 2, and then I'm going to skip over to the very middle of this row. So I'm skipping the first loop and going into the second one, and I'm placing a total of 7 double crochets in this space. So then once you have 7, you be chaining 2 and then placing a shell in the last shell of this space. So that's 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. And that's what it should look like. Then I'm just chaining 3 and going across. I am connecting it with a single crochet to the very top loop, and this is of the little fan that you created. So it really depends on how big your spaces were. So you're just gonna chain 3, continue the pattern. But see, I'm gonna try and just show you. So you should have 1 loop left, but here you see I already placed it in the loop, so that one is smaller than the rest. That's okay, I'm just gonna attach it into the center anyway, and then I think one of them is larger. Yeah, this one I have 2 loops left in the top. That's totally okay, I'm just gonna attach it as usual. But yeah, so after this row, I am just cutting it and tying it, and that's all the pattern I'm gonna add on my crop top. This is what you should have. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I know this voiceover was kind of weird, but if you want to see anything else, just leave me suggestions, and thank you so much for watching.